Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the press. We're reaching you live from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we'll go straight to analysis as we have Dr. Mefor. He is a media consultant. He'll help us to analyze on the stories that we just read out to you. It's great to have you on the show again.
Thank you.
It's good to have you again, Dr. Law.
Thank you. Happy election week.
Happy election week. Happy election day. Happy election week. Happy weekend. So yes.
We're happy people.
We're happy people.
But then, since you have said happy election week,
can
we really be happy about the elections?
Well, you see, I used that expression deliberately. Fela said, why, he sang a song. He said, why I did laugh, man, no fee cry. Do you understand that? So you just laugh over certain things as a way of bearing the impact on you. If you try to spiritualize what has happened in this election, one way of summarizing it is this is yet another hope betrayed. And I say so because if you put into consideration the enormous preparations that the nation made via INEC in the last 2 years, even before then, because the off-season elections, that INEC, off-cycle elections that INEC conducted, were actually used as test runs to fine-tune for the big event, which is the general 2023 general election. That, what we're seeing now doesn't show that indeed all those preparations were really worth it. I see failure all around, and these failures were not really as a result of certain things we ought to have done in terms of putting structures, infrastructure, resources together. They experienced manpower, not that. All of this were expressly and adequately provided for. And I say so because if you look at the difference between the 2010 Electoral Act and the 2022 Electoral Act, very remarkable, because the 2022 Electoral Act is actually designed to take care of all the lapses that we experienced in the 2010 Electoral Act by bringing in the electronic component, electronic accreditation, electronic transfer of votes, transmission or uploading, whichever word you want to use, so whichever word you want to use. All these things were elaborate preparations. But where are we now? Now, again, you see that the same human factors that have often denied us what we call clean election, the possibility of having a free, fair, credible election that will be acceptable to not only the contestants, but even to the international community. The show of shame the presidential election in Nigeria turned out today was clearly avoidable. That's the point I'm making. Because if you had allowed the viewing of uploading and viewing of the results in real time, there won't be any controversy. And Tinubu could still have won. Do you understand what I'm saying? But no matter what you do today, even if you prove that Tinubu won, right, the perception is already damaged. People will be looking at his victory as a kind of pirate victory, and it was avoidable. Tinubu could win, why not? He had the 22 governors behind him. Do you understand that? So he stood a very strong chance. Tinubu is a major gladiator. He's an experienced war horse. So he could win. So why don't you allow him to win? Fairly, so that everybody could see that he won. And if you had allowed that to happen, this election would have emerged as the best election ever in Nigeria, if not in Africa. But we shut the process down somewhere along the line and remove the electronic component of uploading the results and allowing the collation or returning officers to compare two results. You verify, you confirm, then you collate and declare. That is the Electoral Act. That is the election manual issued by INEC. These two, going hand by hand, says you can't do without the electronically uploaded result. But they abandoned it. And that is what casts the whole election in dark light. It's
yeah, the whole election plus the governorship election.
Yeah, the same thing played out in governorship election. Because you see many places where BVAS, BVAS machines were not allowed to work. Do you understand that? For example, when you hijack the BVAS itself physically, do you understand that? Before they were going for ballot boxes. Now they are saying that ballot boxes may not be of much significance. They are now going for the BVAS itself.
The BVAS machines.
They will take the BVAS and secure ballot papers and increase the number they want in the BVAS and stuff the ballot boxes with physical ballot papers. We saw even election officials, INEC officials, in a place like Imo, with printed ballot papers. Of course, they know how to bring it into the mix. This is widespread, and I think it is avoidable. And look at the election security. The election security, nothing to write home about. You will see hoodlums, you will see thugs, armed, harassing, beating, shooting, right? To begin with, you are not authorized to bear arms. Because the gun, the AK-47 you are holding cannot be issued to you as a private citizen by the IGO police. It's impossible. So citing a private citizen carrying AK-47 and the police is watching, doing nothing, something is terribly wrong.
I hear someone actually say that with regards to what you said about the INEC officials in Imo State carrying already printed ballot papers, I hear someone saying that INEC has XYZ amount of officials, so they had to bring in some other Nigerians so as to cushion the numbers.
They are called the ad hoc staff.
So yes, those ad hoc staffs. So now, according to him, he said they're just Nigerians, like every one of us. So they could actually do.
That is a very lame excuse. You see, you take responsibility for some of these things. They were hired by INEC, trained by INEC, deployed by INEC. Do you understand that? If they turn around to betray the system and criminalize the process, you pounce on them and have them processed to jail. This is not happening. Have you heard of arrests of such people? The arrests we have had since 1999, how many of them went to jail? How many of them were prosecuted? That tells you that there is official collusion. Because if there is no official collusion, INEC leadership, ought to be sufficiently alarmed by such actions, denounce it, and take actions to ensure that such people account for the attempt to betray the process and criminalize it. This is not happening. That's the point I'm making. And going back to election security, I said, for example, you don't, if you see a private citizen carrying AK-47, quote me, it was not issued by the IG. And the policeman knows this. So the police in charge of the areas where thugs carrying guns, right, disrupted the process, beat up people. Do you know people died? Right? People were killed. Even INEC officials were killed here and there. The question is, what is the method or process of accountability put in place by the IGO police to get the policemen deployed to those polling units to account for what happened. I want to see elderly room trials send some signal that this does not or did not receive the approval of the police high command.
But then if you have the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Idowu, saying that dismissing claims of widespread cases of voter suppression and violence, especially in Lagos State, then what that's what I mean by official collusion. You know, if you tell us that what we saw in videos, not even pictures, videos of people coming out to openly declare, that a certain ethnic group should not come out to vote. These people are known. MC Olomo, for example, is he not known? When people like that came out addressing, calling Iya Chokwode, if you're not voting APC, don't come out, stay at home. Didn't the police say, didn't the police commissioner of Lagos say it? He saw it. He came out to say that it was a joke. That's what I'm saying. If the police commissioner of Lagos is not, should I use the word complicit? I think that's the most appropriate word. If he's not actually complicit, MC Olomo will not be free on the election day. The police commissioner of Lagos, will be with MC Olomo. You will not be in detention, you will be in my parlor, me and you. Let's quickly take. Do you understand that? Me and you will do the election together. You're going nowhere. All right. Hello, good morning.
Having coffee.
With these men and thugs moving around and suppressing, really harassing, intimidating, physically beating people. Let's quickly take this call. Hello, Elder Zion. Do you understand that?
Good morning.
Good morning, Elder Zion, calling us from Jos.
How are you? How are you?
Very well. Good to hear from you, sir.
Thank you. How was the election?
The election was what it is. It is what it is. Like you say.
The glory. And I just want to comment a little.
Okay, go ahead.
I was ashamed on Saturday when I saw what is happening all over Nigeria.
That's it.
People depriving others, victimizing others, beating others, preventing them from exercising their national right to vote for somebody they wanted to rule him or her. The evil was most pronounced in Lagos. In fact, when I was watching Lagos, I started to ask myself, what is the difference between how Nigerians were treated in South Africa and what Lagosians are doing to Igbo people? In fact, if you look well, I've been orchestrating this year issue. that Nigeria is not one. Nigeria is not one. If we are one, we will not treat ourselves the way Igbos were treated in Lagos on Saturday. So I don't know, but it's a good lesson to the Igbo people. They have shown clearly, without any iota of doubt, that they are not wanted in Nigeria. It is time, right time for them to demand legitimately the country of their own.
All right.
It is in the Constitution. It is in the constitutional matter. Self-determination is in the Constitution.
All right.
Enough of this shenanigan against the Igbo. Enough is enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elder Zion, for your contribution. Do you actually agree
I understand his
self-determination?
His angst and all that. And it's partly what I was really talking about. If you say non-indigenous, particularly the Igbos, cannot vote in Lagos, but during census, you want them to be counted in Lagos, it sends a very complex and wrong signal. Because, like that Zion, was saying, the non-indigenous in Lagos may insist that they will go home to be counted during the census.
Oh wow!
Do you know it's a possibility? Igbos particularly.
What would what
the implication would be that the population of Lagos will go down by more than half. And yet, you know that it is this population that gives you the strength for the humongous allocation you get from the federal revenue, consolidated revenue. It's the population of the same people you don't want to exercise their franchise. So, I think something is, terribly wrong. I would want the Ohanese, the Afenifere, the religious leaders to get up now and begin to talk.
Isn't that going to bring back the religious sentiments that we are trying to run away from?
No. The religion here bring in both the Muslims and Christians. They need to really talk and heal the wounds. Because if this is taken further, let me tell you, Lagosians are feeling that the Igbos are too many in Lagos, right? Their presence is too. But you see, don't forget that Lagos for, upward of 70 whole years was the federal capital territory of Nigeria. At that time, the whole Nigeria converged there, including the Igbos. Later on, we moved our capital to the FCT, where we are at the moment. But the business concerns of all Nigerians, the Dangotes of this world, the Ibetos and all Otedolas and others, is still in Lagos. So it's not just, the idea that the Igbos have invaded Lagos is wrong. It's not true. Igbos went to the federal capital territory of Nigeria. And when he moved to Abuja, they can't possibly move their businesses from Lagos to Abuja for one reason, maritime. After the war, the southeast, the old eastern region that constituted Biafra, was shut down, was denied access to the world via air, land, and sea. This was what led to the closure of the eastern ports. That was what led to the closure of the eastern railway corridor that runs from Port Harcourt through Aba, Enugu up to Potiskum and Meduguri. Shut down. They're not working. You have left Lagos as the only access through the sea to the world. So the whole Nigeria is importing and exporting through Lagos. Now the maritime, the maritime potential of Nigeria gives you, nearly 20 states. If you look at the coastal line of Nigeria, stretching from Lagos through the Niger Delta of Delta State and Edo, part of the southeast, the entire south up to Ogoja, direct access to the Atlantic. And if you come inland from Onitsha to Lokoja up to Baru in Niger State, these are maritime access of Nigeria, not developed. You left only Lagos.
All right.
Let me make this point. You see, if the moment you open up the eastern ports, it's cheaper for the Igbo importers to import through Calabar Port. You know why? The distance, the distance between the distance to the southeast from Europe, the distance from Europe is closer than going to Lagos. You save money that way. But they are all compared to go to Lagos to import. And because of it, they have to build their warehouses in Lagos, in Ogun, and all that. And now you don't want them to do their business there.
All right, now, Dr. Lo, the much talked about presidential and presidential governorship election has come and have gone also. But then let's look at possible post-election litigations. Now, considering the way the whole electoral process has panned out now, what is your confidence in the judiciary at this point?
Well, to begin with, asking people to go to court, that was what we had Mahmoud say, go to court. The president said, look, I am satisfied with this election. If you are not, go to court. I have said that before, and I will repeat now, that we knew that we have Supreme Court, but we didn't ask them to organize the general election for Nigeria, we set up INEC and give it the responsibility statutorily to organize elections in Nigeria. That they must do. For me, referring people to court without exhausting the responsibilities given to you is abdication. INEC abdicated. Let me give you an example. When complaints came that, look, there are violations of even the Electoral Act by this process you have embarked upon. When Professor Mahmood was doing the presidential collation, there is a provision in the Electoral Act that when such complaints come, you constitute yourself. The INEC management will be constituted into a hearing body to consider those petitions, those complaints on their merit. They have up to 1 week to 2 weeks window offered by the Electoral Act. You abandoned it. You say go to court. Now, if you go to court, the onus of proving what INEC did is on the litigants and not on INEC. They are receiving a more dangerous problem. There is what is called, there's what is called the preponderance of regularity. The court assumes already that INEC complied. Do you see where the problem is? There is that presumption that INEC complied. Now the onus is now on you to prove that INEC did not comply. So INEC will just remove itself and throw you to the courts to prove what happened in 176,606 polling units in Nigeria. Those were the places where the presidential election took place. Now, and you have to do this within, I think, 180 days. The question is how? So there is already a very major disadvantage being suffered by those who were asked to go to court. That's why I said, what you are recommending now was taken care of by the Electoral Act that tells you once you count, snap with BVAS and upload. You refuse to do this.
All right.
And because you did not upload, people will now have to go and start looking for the duplicate copies that you gave to the party agents. And the duplicate copies will be 176,606. You will now categorize them into wards, into local governments, into states in 180 days, and then use that to prove forensically that you won.
Right.
It's not impossible, but it's an uphill task. And I believe that INEC has not been fair to the opposition political parties. INEC has not been fair to Nigerians who came out en masse because of the confidence
they were given.
By the Professor Mahmood Yakubu's led the INEC.
All right, because we're talking about INEC, now if you can help us in the next 1 minute, if you could help us. Daily Sun reports that Amechi has confirmed our fears about INEC chairman, and that's coming from Atiku Abubakar. I'm sure you must have seen that statement made by Amechi.
I saw it. I saw the video.
Let's hear your.
But you see, later day since Amechi is a product of the PDP. He left the party for APC. They were the ones that brought down Jonathan. Do you understand what I'm saying? At what point did he realize this? That's the problem. So you see, it's a I or nobody, I or highway. That's what's going on. The merit of Amechi's claim is there, but again, the opposition ought to know even before the election that Professor Mahmood was the executive secretary of that fund. When Wike was the Minister of State for Education, and when Hajia Rikiatu or somebody like that was removed or resigned or something, Wike acted was the overall acting minister of education. Who was Mahmood reporting to that time? To Wike. Do you understand that? So what I'm actually saying is plausible. But of what value is that now? No,
so which is the timing?
The timing is so wrong. For me, he's just playing a spoiler's game. If Amechi was giving the ticket of the APC, would he be telling us this now? These are issues. And you see, opposition didn't do its work well. It's as simple as that. This is an example of the fact that they did not do their work well. When Mahmood was nominated as the chairman of INEC, was the time he would have been discredited by opposition. But they didn't. Because as at that time he favored them, why? Wike was still the head of PDP. So they thought he could work out for them. So now that he didn't work out for them, he has become a problem. You see, that is why integrity is everything. Follow the process. Follow. Allow integrity to govern you. Morality, basic principles of life, because the table may turn and the victor may become a victim.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lome, for what a very fine place to end this segment of the conversation. It's been a wonderful time. It's always a pleasure having this
Thank you.
with you.
The pleasure is mine.
All right, viewers, that's where we end this segment of the show. We'll definitely continue with this conversation with our next guest, Israel Fagbemigo, who is also a journalist. We'll see you after this time out. Please